Chapter 2. Roles to uphold. The day after Diablo's report, Shuna and Sui returned early in the morning. "We've made it back safely," Shuna said so while rubbing me against her cheek. Her battle had depleted her mana, so she needed some time to recover enough mana to cast spatial transportation. While I could cast a large-scale teleportation using spatial domination, Shuna has limited magical storage and can only cast it a few times per day. Sui could have used shadow teleportation to get back, but as a bodyguard, he couldn't abandon his charge, so he waited for Shuna to recover. Right now, several clones of his are securing the perimeter of Clayman's base. It seems he's having an easier time with this work than I imagined. Right, what about Hakuru? Yes, I've asked him to take care of some business. Shuna replies with a smile. Cheyenne quietly averts her eyes from me. It would seem they returned early and left the cleaning up to Hakuru. Hakuru can't use spatial transportation, so it's sometimes unavoidable that he gets left behind. However, Hakuru treats Shuna as preciously as he would to a granddaughter, so he probably wouldn't mind if she's the one asking for a favor. It seems that he's been assisting Geld in coordinating the investigation of Clayman's castle, the recovery of trophies, and the management of captives. That's a lot on Hakuru's shoulders. I feel deeply grateful to him. His work is piling up, but a layman like myself would just get in the way. I should stay quiet until he makes a request for assistance. The following night, Benimura's party also returned. Is it okay for the Generalissimo to return like this? As I ask, Benimura cracks a smile. Hee, since the battle is already over, staying there would just be a nuisance to the others. So we swiftly withdrew after leaving the command to our outstanding lieutenants. Benimura says delightedly, as a man with no responsibilities. In other words, he left the aftermath for the Beastketeers to deal with. I could almost see the frustration on Alvis and the rest's faces. He and Shuna are similar in this respect, but I suppose it is only expected from siblings. At least try to learn from my strong sense of responsibility. Answer. It is concluded that they've learned this from their master. Conclusion based on what? You must have been mistaken. Speaking of which, has your analysis ability degraded since your evolution from Great Sage to Wisdom King Raphael? Negative. No such effect is detected. And you dare to deny it? It must have been the case with its evolution. But I don't stand a chance trying to argue with it, so I shall be the bigger man here and let it slide. Not being able to win against Raphael, I decide to ask Benimura how the aftermath was being handled. By the way, is Gabble still on the battlefield? Yes. That guy got along quite well with Malim Sama's subordinate mightily, so he decided to help with the wrap-up. I see. So, Geld is at Clayman's base, while Gabble remains on the battlefield. I see that Gabble has also stayed to deal with the aftermath. Whether it is Geld or Gabble, both seem very reliable when tackling real situations. The war is not over although the battle is won. The aftermath is more problematic to deal with. Especially since we've wiped out all of Clayman's underlings. We have profited from the hard labor of the many captives taken from the battlefield and his base. Since we've promised to spare their lives, we need to take responsibility in taking care of them. They are all magients, so unlike humans, they could probably put up with harsher treatment. But they would still hold a grudge if they aren't provided basic welfare. Resentment due to their defeat in war, on the other hand, couldn't be helped. But the aftermath would have to be handled by the victorious side. It would be quite tiresome to teleport all of the captives on the battlefield at once, so we have to be careful not to let any of them start an insurgency when we are not looking. These magents are concerning even when disarmed. When one considers the magic and skills in this world, it's no wonder no one dares to take captives. We've got to come up with a way to prevent insurgency. Oh, don't worry about that. I've gathered all the captives and explained the matter with all of them. Oh, okay. I found myself subconsciously lowering my head upon seeing Benimmer's delightful smile. I intentionally avoided asking what he said to them. Some captives have probably already seen how Benimmeru incinerated Charybdis. No one would dare to rebel so long as the message is spread. Besides, there are the Beastketeers. So, I'll leave the matter of managing captives to the Beastmen. I presume then Gabble won't be back for now? Unlikely. He can't use spatial transportation, so he would probably return with the Beastketeers. I was just thinking that Gabble's party would fly back promptly after everything was settled. Putting that aside for now. Are the Beastketeers coming as well? Why would the Beastketeers come? Are they returning with the rescued civilians, disarmed captives, and everyone else altogether? Please consider this, hasn't the capital of Eurasania been wiped out by Malim Sama? So they decided in the end to join our reign for the time being. Benimmeru told me that the Beastmen are an energetic species, so it won't be a problem for them to travel long distances by marching. But that is not what I intended to ask. But can we even accommodate all those people? Last time we took in 20,000 people, it took quite a while to clear out an area for camping alone. Moreover, both Geld, who is a highly reliable man, and the Orc tribe construction team are on a business trip. Even if there is additional space in the area we have explored, it will still be challenging to provide everyone with a place to reside. About that, I've discussed with Geld and Alvis. We've organized the captives into several major brigades to seek residence in different locations. Benimmeru explains, telling me to not worry. They seem to have filtered the members to shelter. Beastmen. Those who have a village to return to will take care of themselves. As for those coming to Tempest Federation, they all seem to be beastmen wishing to learn about our technologies. Beastmen who have stamina remaining will stay at the battlefield, along with the magents, to follow the orders of Geld's troops. Under their command, they will construct on the ruins of the now wiped-out Eurasania. Carrion has renounced his title of Demon Lord and become Malim's subordinate, meaning Eurasania has also become Malim's territory. There is a field of fertile land south of the Jura Great Forest, in the middle of Eurasania. It is likely going to be the construction ground for Malim's new city. Shouldn't you just move your city altogether if you will have to rebuild it? I suggested to Malim after the idea sparked in my mind, and she agreed without hesitation. And I thought we needed more time to discuss. Well, it's Malim we are talking about after all. She's very quick to make such decisions. Come to think about it, Malim doesn't have any actual subordinates. The worshippers of dragons may seem to be her subordinates, but in reality, they only worship Malim, they are not under her command. Considering that, moving the capital would be needless. Still, there's no problem with it, Carrion and Fry don't seem to object either, so we can build up new cities without any hindrance, financed by Clayman's treasure troves we collected. In addition, we have the captives, who are getting split into groups at the moment, to supply the labor force. There is no need for me to worry since Benimmeru and Geld seem to have personally visited the sites to oversee the operation. Their growth has been astonishing. I recall my junior Tamura, who never seemed to be able to follow my guidance despite repeated instruction. Now even monsters are doing a better job than you. According to Benimru, Tempest Federation will be receiving less people this time around. If that's the case, does it mean we don't need to provide new temporary residences for them? Yes, there shouldn't be a need. But there are more than just beastmen due to the Magian captives. We'd better clarify this to everyone else, and just in case I'll inform everyone to tighten up security. All right. I understand, I'll explain it to everyone. Rigard nods in response to Benimru's words. These two have become really capable. They are able to carry out their own decisions even without my guidance. Does that mean they would be fine even without me? That makes me feel somewhat lonely. Sad face. It's been several days since Benimru's party returned. At midnight, Diablo enters the office holding a dark box. Rimuru-sama, I've negotiated with them as planned. This box contains the peace treaty document, as well as 1,500 star gold coins of reparations. Diablo finishes his sentence and presents the box to me. I almost forgot that today is the day we were to sign the peace treaty with Pharmus Kingdom. Since he said that I don't need to attend it, it wouldn't matter even if I did completely forget. But I'm still feeling somewhat diffident about it. It feels as though my subordinate is working hard while I am slacking. No, I am definitely not slacking. Besides, my goal is power to the people while upholding the title of king, so it won't matter. I try to give myself excuses in order to mask my fear, then I turn and nod to Diablo. Oh, that's great. Speaking of which, there seem to be more star gold coins than I imagined. After all, our demand of 10,000 star gold coins was unreasonable in the first place. After some inquiry, I also learned that it is still a mystery whether the total star gold coins in circulation in this world even adds up to 10,000. Here's what their producer, King Gazel, has to say: the star gold coin can only be produced once a month. I've heard that since the creation of our nation, there has been some periods when no star gold coin at all is produced. That's why its rarity makes for its value. It is rumored that the amount of gold coins circulating is hundreds of times more than the star gold coins, so it is undoubtedly rare indeed. And here before my eyes are 1,500 pieces of said rare star gold coins. I can only be amazed at the thought that more than 10% of all the star gold coins in circulation are all gathered here. As expected from a powerful nation such as Pharmus, they were actually able to gather so many of them. You can have a peek into their national reserve from the enormous amount of coins they are able to prepare. It is certainly impressive, however most of them came from King Edmalus. He has made up this amount from his own treasury. According to Diablo, most of these star gold coins belong to the royal treasury, and have lost their luster without much use. They have the Dwarven Kingdom to back them up economically by providing a means to convert the royal treasures with much artistic values to monetary funds. Now that the Knight Order who is supposed to protect the royal family is gone, it would undoubtedly be robbed clean by the nobles. King Edmalus naturally understood as much. Is that why he decided to hand over all his assets to clear the national reserves? I see. Won't they be fighting each other then as planned? Yes, that would definitely be the case. I doubt the new king would accept having the rest of the debts be kept in forms of ledger. Diablo-kun laughs in response. He has set his eyes on the long run by considering the mind of the new king. That's probably why he chose the king's brother Edward to inherit the throne instead of Prince Edgar. King Edmalus has also accepted that this is the only solution available to them now. Normally, Edmalus would receive the treatment of a duke, but he has refused it. He gave away his crown and became a viscount. He has now moved to the small rural land near the territory of Earl Nedler McMunn. From everyone else's viewpoint, Edmalus has completely given up his ambition for power. With that being the case. Answer. The other factions who don't wish to take on the responsibility of repaying the remaining reparations would likely try to pin the rest of the responsibility on Edmalis. Of course. It seems that everything is going according to Diablo's plan. You must have used Nedler's territory as his base so you can travel there with ease as soon as anything occurs. Indeed, just as you have deduced. Diablo nods with a smile on his face. Cheyenne looked pissed listening to our conversation. No, it's probably going in one ear and out the other. She must have given up thinking halfway through our conversation. I'll worry about Cheyenne later. Nedler's territory directly borders the Jura Great Forest. It is a middle-scale land near the border, with a branch of the Freedom Association. Riots often break out, owing to the sheer number of people residing there. That's where Yum is staying. His heroic deeds are known by many, and as such, he is very popular among the people. Would Yum stop the him even if the new king tries to sacrifice Edmalis? Yes. We will have Yum-san accuse the new king for being dishonest in the deal. There would definitely be a riot by that time. Is he trying to create a spontaneous confrontation by having Yum protect Edmalis and his acquaintances? What a perfect plan. If the new king is willing to pay the rest of the reparations, we won't hold them further accountable, but we'd better have our eyes set on the long run and plan out the slow disintegration of the Farmus kingdom. However, even I can't fully fathom Diablo's strategy. His skillful manipulation will lead to ideal results. Change is coming, and soon. The new king would most likely take actions to eliminate Edmalis. Our plan would fall apart if the new king managed to take control of Edmalis. But of course, we can always ignore whatever they bring up, even if it would be at the cost of our international reputation. Whatever you do needs to be justified, that's the rule of human society. You must remain vigilant. Could the people manipulating the new king minimize the damage to the people? If you wish so, I, Diablo, shall deliver to your expectations. You are truly talented. He is a bit too smart, so much so that it is almost intimidating. But it seems Diablo can accomplish anything handed to him. I'll leave the rest to you. If the military funds ever run low, you can always use these star gold coins. I store 1,000 of the star gold coins in my stomach and hand over the remaining 500 to Diablo. Luckily, everyone was revived, so we only need to compensate them individually. Considering all the reparations, we have to use them to the fullest even with only 1,000 coins claimed. We've gained plenty of treasure from Clayman's base to fill in a wealthy treasury. Although city development may cost a lot of money in the future, we still have enough of a budget to support Yum. Based on all this, I gave Diablo the suggestion of supporting him. However, he turned me down with a smile. Rimuru-sama, knowing your heart is there alone is delightful to me. But there is no such need. Our forces will be sufficient with how everything is set up. Or perhaps you would grant me the honor of joining the battle. No can do. I'll prepare some extra forces, but you have to lay low yourself. I said, cutting Diablo off midway. I know best how strong Diablo truly is, so I won't be stupid enough to misuse such power. Unless they encounter enemies at the level of Holy Knights, his power is simply too excessive, wasteful, to be used on an average human nation. Doing so will only alienate the humans due to fear, and thus achieving mutual understanding will more difficult. We are walking on thin ice towards my goal of peaceful coexistence with the human societies. Other than that, there is no issue with troop deployment. Right now, no one would dare to go toe-to-toe against us publicly. Geld's troops may have been sent to deal with construction work, but the military might of Benimaru's troops alone would be more than enough. Besides, Farmas these days has lost more than half of its military reserves, and would not pose any threat against us. Knowing that, I just need to prepare some reinforcement troops first. The money can be invested in building Yum's new kingdom in the future. Understood. I shall stay low and completely veil myself behind the scene. Diablo immediately responds upon hearing my explanation. Cheyenne, you should learn more from Diablo. But why? I've always stayed calm and followed through with your orders. While I often remind her of her shortcomings, Cheyenne seems to lack self-awareness. Seriously. I could only hope that she begins to realize things for herself and be more composed. Sigh. There's still a long way to go before I can send Cheyenne off on a solo mission. After the report, Diablo suddenly recalled something and decided to ask me a question. Rimuru-sama, the Western Saints Church is trying to establish contact with my subordinate Reheim. They seem to be summoning him in hope of uncovering the details of our battle against the Farmas Kingdom. What's your view on the matter? This Mr. Reheim is the Archbishop of Farmas Kingdom. Right now, he seems to have become Diablo's loyal lackey, but it would also pose an issue if he ignores his summoning. It would also be problematic if we just leave things as is. Indeed, I suggest we send him to do some explaining, just to investigate what the church is planning. Right. There were only 3 survivors, it is natural that the church would want to hear his story. Of the survivors, previous king of Farmased Malus, head of court mages Larzen, and Archbishop Reheim, it is obvious they would pick their own archbishop for questioning. Or perhaps, Reheim is their only candidate. It may be a fact that Veldora has indeed been revived, but the timing does not align with our narrative. The Western Saints Church seemed to be surveilling Veldora all these times. Our story may be exposed if that's the case. Is that so? Then, should we let him tell the truth? I begin to ponder. It may pose a hindrance to our plan depending on how the Western Saints Church acts. It would be best if we could steer clear from them, but their hostile doctrine regarding monsters is truly troublesome. I want our relationship to be like that between the Church and the Kingdom of Dworgen. The two are not on good terms since the dwarves treat monsters equally, which conflicts with the doctrine of the Church. But they didn't become hostile, instead both simply ignore each other. We must aim for this relationship as well. I have no intention to deny such religious doctrines that have existed over thousands of years, but with that being said, we can't simply just accept their demands. Surely when they proclaim, all monsters deserve to die, you can't just simply comply by saying you're right. We must respect and understand each other. War would be inevitable if one side could not accept the other's views. For this reason, it is essential that we compromise and try to stay away from potential sources of conflict. Although even with that being said, it will still require their cooperation. If they don't have the same idea in mind, it would be just as trying this out alone. If the Western Saints Church consider us as the nemesis of God, then unfortunately we will have to put up a fight. If things turn out that way, then it leaves us no choice but to destroy them without mercy. But right now. Alright, then we'll try to send out a message first. Didn't we acquire some video recording magic items from Clayman? Let's put some of my messages in and see how they would react when Reheim brings it to probe the reaction of the Saints Church. Understood. Yes, sir. I'll go prepare now. Diablo nods as he receives my order while Cheyenne runs off to find the crystal ball. Diablo reported to me later that he had sent Reheim out. A few more days have passed since then. Although the man has been sent, there hasn't been any response from the Western Saints Church. There seems to be a commotion on their end. But it can't really be helped. After all, both Veldora was revived and a new demon lord was born, aka me. They probably won't be able to decide how to deal with us so fast. It won't matter either if they continue to ignore us. I'll put it on hold and observe for now before they reply. The Beastketeers arrived. Including the captives, the group consisting of tens of thousands of people arrived earlier than I expected. Beastmen and Magients are indeed impressive. Going by stamina alone, they are already far superior to humans. Moreover, since magic is real in this world, they can rely on magic when they run out of stamina, and get back on their feet when their mana is depleted. Due to this, they are able to march much more efficiently and quickly. What impressed me more is that even the civilians are able to apply such a method. As expected from the defiant beastmen. But I haven't yet seen Gabble. He must be somewhere at the rear of all those troops. My thoughts were interrupted by the greetings of the Beastketeers Alvis and Sophia. I greet them back only to realize that one of them is missing. Didn't Phobio come as well? About that, Phobio stayed back to keep an eye on the Magian captives. Sophia answers. While Geld was staying at Clayman's base, he asked Phobio to keep an eye on the Magians in case of an insurgency. In other words, he's been stuck with the chore work. Phobio Kuan, RIP. But in all honesty, surveillance is still necessary even with Benimura's warning. I appreciate Phobio's self-sacrifice in taking on the tasks from the bottom of my heart. On another note, the arrangements for their residence are complete due to Rigurd's leadership. Additionally, the allocation of work has been prepared as well. Rigurd has been talking to the managers of the production department, namely Kaijin and Kirabi, to see how many spots are available for each department. Those who came here are people with a passion to learn technology, but sadly we can only accept limited members. That's why we would be rotating the position within these departments for the people joining. If that's the case, we should try open up classrooms for cultivating professional personnel. Perhaps it would be a good idea to build a school to pass on these techniques. Our shelter operation slowly unfolds as these ideas cross my mind. As Alvis' party enters the town, I see Gabble at the rear of the troops. Rimuru-sama, I'm back. He exclaims without a hint of fatigue as he descends from the sky. Oh, good job out there. I heard you were quite active on the battlefield. That's not the case, I was far from being good. Milim-sama's subordinate mightily sandblasted me hard with lightning. Oh, Benimura did mention to me that those people are extremely powerful dragonoids. Right, since they worship Milim, it is no wonder that they are warmongers as well. Is your recent evolution the reason why you haven't been able to achieve your full potential? You still have a long way to go. I'm not sure whether my words are comforting him or not, but I said them, nonetheless. He doesn't seem quite upset by it. I'm sure Gabble must also be thinking the same thing. Yes. I shall continue to improve to meet Rimuru-sama's expectations. My reason for believing so is the fact that Gabble responded so with a smile. Afterward I took some time to comfort Gabble's underlings. Suddenly, Gabble takes out a letter and presents it to me. What is this? It's a letter from Milim-sama. She told me to deliver it to Rimuru-sama. What is this? There seems to be an ominous aura around it. She did mention she will drop by to play with me after I parted ways with her at the Valpurgis banquet. As I open the letter, I lay my eyes on the exotic and charming writings, horribly written nonsensible symbols. This is Milim. Next time I visit, I'll be bringing along some guys who just can't seem to leave me the heck alone. I want you to teach them everything there is to know about cooking. This is an urgent request, so I figured I'd ask my buddy Rimura for help. Please, please, please. Those are the words written on the letter, though one can tell the effort she put into it due to the sincerity of her writing. If anyone likes taking care of Malim, it would be the worshippers of Dragon, right? What's this is supposed to mean? Have you heard anything about it? Yes, a little bit. I became quite the close acquaintance with Hermann-san from the worshippers of Dragon, and was able to get some inside news from him. According to Gabble, this Hermann seems to be a rather reasonable man, unlike the warmongering mightily. He is a free-spirited fellow who has even traveled to Dworgen and the Western nations. Hermann told Gabble that the worshippers of dragons have a very simple lifestyle. That's why they believe that there is no need to pay too much attention in moderating Malim-sama's diet. Perhaps they are like our tribe who consider food such as raw fish as the best type of cuisine. Gabble claims so, but I think the two may be different. The lizardmen tribe are more suited to consuming raw fish due to their taste buds. They also utilize methods such as smoking to flavor the food, so they are not completely ignorant of culinary techniques. They are also capable of other basic culinary skills, and can produce some simple, non-fish foods. In contrast, the worshippers of Dragon seem to lack the common sense of diet moderation. Although they wouldn't go as far as eating raw meat, I feel that they only refrain from it in order to avoid food poisoning. I see. Are the taste buds of dragonettes the same as humans? Yes. Yes. Thanks to my evolution, I've gained a variety of new taste sensations. Now dining has become a great joy for me considering how tasteless most food was in the past. Right? That's how one gets addicted to good food. Tasty food gives you the urge to eat more. Gabble nods dramatically upon hearing and agreeing with my views. I see, so that's how it is. Perhaps Hermann-san meant that he wishes that such customs would enter their life as well. Gabble may have a point. Whether what we do can be considered as custom is to be determined, but I have an idea about what Malim's request is. It is rather contradictory to worship Malim as a god while ignoring said god's will. Why Malim did not complain about these things is beyond me. Perhaps Malim is pretty conscientious after all. Maybe she knew that they are doing everything for her sake out of goodwill. That's why she didn't complain and kept playing along. If that's the case, we shall treat her to a feast during her next visit. Yes. What a great idea. We must get the point across with subtlety, without outright rejecting the worshippers' way of life, by creating a scenario for them to realize by themselves how to make Malim happier. This task seems to be harder than I imagined. Perhaps I should seek others' opinions on the matter during a meeting on another day. I tell Gabble to return to the cave and continue his research. Nowadays, even with Vesta's aid, there are still too few researchers. Their work would be even harder without Gabble's party. Then, I shall depart first. Right. Our next meeting would discuss rewards as well, you should join too. Yes, sir. Gabble looks proud, perhaps having recalled the fact that he has become an official, executive/lieutenant. Then he delightfully leaves for his cave. It's been a month since the end of the Walpurgis banquet. The town has become more and more active with more people arriving. It is at this point that Geld returned using spatial transportation. Geld, who I've not seen for a long time, looks rather exhausted. G. Geldkoen. Good job out there. I greet him out of reflex. Geld glances at me and opens up after taking a deep breath. I've once again experienced the greatness of Rimuru-sama. What do you mean by that all of a sudden? I couldn't help but ask after he blurted out those words with a serious expression. Those tired eyes of his seemed to gleam with a genuine sense of respect. I haven't been doing anything lately, so I don't quite recall doing anything worthy of someone else's respect. I wonder what he has gone through the past few weeks. It's really nothing, but here's the story. Geld begins to vividly recount the past events, although most of them were just filled with complaints about the new recruits. He allocated the captives into different groups and arranged them into different regiments. So far, nothing seemed off yet. But when Geld commanded them to conduct site measurements and preparations, that's when the questions started popping up. Since the orcs are able to communicate through telepathy net with their tribesmen, they can carry out work easily without verbal communication. However, this method is not applicable to the groups of magents newly mixed into the regiments. Even with verbal explanations, the magents don't seem to understand. But it is fundamentally due to the fact that most of Geld's subordinates, including himself as the worst offender, are horrible at communication. These orcs are more like craftsmen, who don't know how to explain things in a clear and orderly manner. Having the orcs give instructions resulted in a nightmare of low efficiency when the construction actually started. Everyone was overworked and filled with anger and resentment at the situation. Those magents also seemed to be rather uncooperative in regard to taking orders. Even when Geld's men gave physical demonstrations of how to do the work, many of the magents still refused to comply. Besides, even those who are willing to work have yet to master the techniques, leading to disappointing results. I suppose that's true. Things are hardly easier with more people. The surplus of workers would mean nothing if none of them knew what they were doing. That's why professional training is really important. Let me demonstrate it for you, let me teach it to you, I will let you try it, and I will compliment you for your effort. 'Tis how I will move your heart. These are words from a great man, ex-commander of the Imperial Japanese Navy Yamamoto Isoroku. I believe every leader should keep this quote dear to heart. The hardship of the education and upbringing of subordinates are all in this quote. Moreover, one would only feel proud for their work if they realized the purpose of their work. Hearing Geld's complaints brings back memories of my salaryman days. Operators who ignored my instructions, juniors who tried to hide their failure, bosses who tried to push their responsibilities to other people. My last life was not easy either. Although there were indeed happy memories, it would take until the end of the time for me to finish spitting out all my complaints. Whenever I feel this way, I always... Right, let's go grab a drink. Let's not leave before getting drunk today, Geld. I said so while patting Geld on the shoulder, inviting him out for a drink. Drinking and having someone to chat with is the best solution to this type of situation. Helping subordinates de-stress is also part of my duty as a leader, and improving their mood after they complain is another part of it. I should definitely spend more time on people like Geld who have a great sense of responsibility. We drank for the whole night, while Geld showered me with his complaints. Early on next morning, I gathered all the lieutenants to have a meeting. But before that, I went to visit Hakuru. Since I only reached Hakuru through telepathy net last night, I decided to give him a personal welcome back first thing in the morning. I can't believe Rimuru-sama would come receive me in person. He seems very grateful having received such a privilege. Hakuru doesn't seem as tired as Geld. Good job out there. You are too kind, I have hardly done anything worthy of such praise. There wasn't really much I could do since all the captives have already been accounted for. Compared to me, Geld is the one that truly worked hard. There is no longer a need for me to return since I've transferred all my work to the others last night. Geld. He really did work hard. I've been drinking with him ever since I contacted you last night. He seems really troubled. In the past, he could always put his heart to work without being distracted, but it seems that commanding the captives has really taken a toll on him. Indeed. Perhaps he would benefit from some relaxation and an open mind, but Geld is simply too serious. Hakura has a point. The easiest way to discipline the agents, who all have different interpretation of the situation, is through violent oppression. Granted, violent oppression would probably not bring about the best results, since the end result is likely the product of some form of forced compromise. Geld, as a professional craftsman, probably would not tolerate such unimpressive results. Speaking of which, Rimura-sama, there is something I wish to report. I'll leave Geld's problem to his own concerns. Perhaps that was the conclusion Hakura reached as he opened up to me with something unrelated. What is it? Well, regarding Clayman's territory of the puppet state Gistav, most of the denizens there seem to be slaves. There are no other races besides dark elves residing there. Most of them have roles related to the management of the castle, with a total of more than 1,000 of them expressing a desire to serve us. And? About that. I've heard rumors that there was once an elven kingdom in Gistav. The elves. I recall that Sorcerer's dynasty Sarion also seems to consist of elven descendants. Could it be that the two share a common ancestry? The two locations are quite far apart from each other, so that shouldn't be the case. I couldn't believe it when the captives there told me that they were the grave keepers of an ancient ruin. The long-lived dark elves are guarding a tomb, and an ancient ruin? In other words, the ruins of an ancient kingdom are located there and untouched. This new information is quite surprising. There are many ancient ruins across the world, and some people would make a living out of treasure hunting at these locations. Professional treasure hunters often go on journeys to challenge these ruins for hidden treasures. However, these expeditions rarely bring back any good news. Moreover, the amount of ruins that have been uncovered is fairly low, so it is quite unlikely to discover treasures immediately. And right now, we have a ruin site unknown to the public. Hakuro, keep this information confidential. We'll make the call once we check out the site ourselves. Understood. Hakuro also seems to realize the importance of the matter, as he nods quietly to my response. The reason being that we may be able to extract Clayman's treasures from that ruin. Geld also mentioned that he's already salvaged all sorts of magic items and treasure. However, with that being said, for the time being, we need to sit still and observe the situation. Information disclosed to the public about dark elves is extremely limited, so no one would bat an eye if we keep our mouths shut. And after all, it is a demon lord's domain. Average adventurers wouldn't dare to step foot in such forbidden lands. It's no good to rush things in one go. For that reason, I decided it was best to approach the matter of the ancient ruins cautiously. Everyone has now gathered at the large meeting room. Taking the initiative, I open up to speak to commence the meeting. Ahem, everyone. Some of you may already be aware, but I am now officially a demon lord. I announce so while sitting in my special slime chair and taking a glance around. Congratulations. Everyone floods me with their best wishes with smiles on their faces, even the ones who already knew. The sensation of overcoming a huge challenge truly is delightful. You've finally gained your rightful position after so long. Amazing. I'm so moved that you've really become a real demon lord. Would this be the start of Rimuru-sama's reign? Rigard. You say you've been waiting for so long, yet you and I haven't even known each other for more than 2 years. How much has this guy overestimated my abilities? Rigard seems to be moved to tears, unlike Cheyenne, who looks very proud instead. Even I feel quite moved by it. And if there is any problem remaining, it would be the reaction from the Western Saints Church. It would create the most ideal environment for our nation if this problem could be resolved. Jovially, I continue with the agenda of the meeting. I have to inform every one of the decisions made during the Walpurgis banquet as well. Right, I haven't brought this up before, but it's been decided that my territory would include the entirety of the Jura Great Forest. Right now, I've been officially titled as the ruler. Any objections? But anyhow, I don't think there would be a problem anyways. But we need to defend ourselves should anyone invade. Moreover, how should we inform the outside world which territories are my domain? Is it okay for us to just leave it like this? My lieutenants seemed to become increasingly nervous the more I spoke. Some of their faces even sprouting looks of tension. Is something amiss? About that, do you mean the entire forest? Is it true? Rigard ventures. Why yeah. I give the confirmation. Oi, is this for real? Does this include the entire forest including the banks across the river? Benimura asks, to which my response was probably. With regards to the aforementioned river, he must be referring to the great river of Ameld. The other side of the riverbank is territory under the control of the Eastern Empire, so unfortunately we are not very familiar with it. Is there a problem? It won't be a huge problem for us, but I recall that the opposite bank of the river is not under the administration of the Dryads. And since only the residents within the Dryads' territory consider Rimuru-sama as their leader, the residents opposite to the bank must be having headaches over the emergence of the new demon lord. Benimura answers thoughtfully. It doesn't sound that bad. He seems to be implying, with a smirk, that if they dare to protest, we will just annihilate them. Hold on a sec, this is actually a HUGA problem. That's really something. Does this mean that all the demon lords recognize that all of the resources in this forest now belong to Rimuru-sama? In other words, the collection of resources would all be under Rimuru-sama's control. That's an impressive scale of operation. Kaijin exclaims excitingly, seeming to speak what was on my mind. That's exactly the case. Although, I seem to have the nagging suspicion that things may get out of hand big time. According to Kaijin, all of our mining operations have been underground, illegal, and everyone is in on it. The Dryad overseers of the forest for the most part kept their eyes closed, rendering the entire area essentially lawless. It's a common sight to see people in and out of Dworgen collect and exploit the forest resources for profit. This has been the norm since there wasn't a need to ask for permission from anyone. But from now on, they would need my permission for entering and residing within the forest. Right now, all the denizens of the forest would need to be granted my permission to reside. If that's the case, would there be more people coming as time moves on? Yes. Since Rimuru-sama has officially become a demon lord, those who aren't coming to greet you would practically be sending an open declaration of war. Shuna explains with a gentle smile on her face. It can't be wrong if even Shuna says so. But upon considering so, those residents who were previously living a carefree life in the forest suddenly need to get my permission. It is troublesome no matter how you put it. But, isn't it too late to bring it up now? They've already been living in. Rigard and Gabble respond upon hearing my mutterings. You shouldn't put it that way. The demon lords possess immense power. As for goblins, even the power of a greater magen is already beyond our imagination. Indeed, that's exactly the case. Although the choice to decide whether to submit to demon lords and live under their protection, or live a carefree life denying their authority is up to each individual, even us lizard men have to choose the former. No one would stand opposing demon lords. Only fools would ignore their presence. That's why we normally send our greetings first in order to prevent antagonizing them. As Shuna mentioned before, those who aren't willing to greet the demon lords would likely be labeled as rebels. It is said that demon lords will send their subordinates to annihilate said rebels if they deem their actions severe enough. I'm not the type to rain destruction on others over such trivial matters. But the monsters who haven't personally met me would probably not get the same impression. But hey, at least the lizard men would be present to send their regards. I've already informed my father of Rimura-sama's great deeds in becoming a demon lord. Gabble confidently announces. When did you decide on that? Is the Vol7 visiting? Yes. I've told Cheyenne-san as well. My dad said he would definitely come greet Rimura-sama in person. Things seem to be getting wilder. The lizard men are considered a major tribe within the Jura Great Forest. Such a major tribe's decision to greet me would inevitably pressure the weaker ones to greet me as well. Those who know me would probably be delighted to visit, while those who don't know me would most likely shit their pants at the notion alone. They would probably only be thinking about how screwed they would be if they offended their new overlord. Perhaps I should come up with a way for everyone to conduct the greeting ceremony in a more relaxed manner to avoid scaring them too much. But those are just my thoughts. I turn to Cheyenne, who for some reason looks quite proud. Why didn't she report to me that Gabble's father is coming? Stop acting all smug over there. Cheyenne completely fails to notice my reaction. She is the opposite of her diligent secretary appearance. This girl is the picture opposite of reliable. What a shame. Haha. It is only natural when the one you are greeting is Rimura-sama himself. Cheyenne spills such nonsense, all delighted by herself. I guess I'll just ignore her for now. It is quite comforting, however, that she seems to be happier when I'm the one being praised over herself. But telling her so would only fuel her arrogance, so it would be better to just keep my mouth shut. To summarize, the news of my ascension to Demon Lord has spread across the lands, and I'll be having a lot of visitors from all over the forest soon. Perhaps they all think it is better to be protected under the demon lords than to stand against them. If that's the case, a lot of monsters are going to visit this town. We would be busy attending to them all. And next, we will need to investigate the Jura Great Forest and reach out to sentient species. While it won't be a problem for them if they acknowledge my authority as the ruler of the region, that doesn't mean we don't have other things to worry about as well. But regardless, we would be busy no matter what, so we should. I'm thinking, aren't we going to inform the outside world about the news of my ascension to Demon Lord anyways? If that's the case, how about we take advantage of it and use the news to advertise our town? Rather than having everyone visiting one at a time, it would be much more convenient to invite them here all together at once. What do you mean? Rigard looks at me with doubts. So I decide to explain the idea that I just decided on in layman's terms. We don't have to make the matter too complicated. This town is the capital of the Tempest Federation, and more monsters in the Jura Great Forest are becoming aware of this place. For instance, the kobold merchants led by Kobe. I think it's about time to expand our population given how some have expressed their interest in joining. The beast men currently studying technology in the town would eventually leave our country one day, so we have to find new members to fill in the void. Furthermore, we have to improve the efficiency of skill training to make individual training sessions more worthwhile. We've also improved the efficiency of our food production, so welcoming new citizens shouldn't pose an issue. However, the main issue here is that our labor force is lacking. My head floods with countless potential ideas. But there just aren't enough people at hand. That's an issue. We must seize this opportunity to promote the town and encourage people to come and live here. When people come to visit me, we should also use that moment to show them around town. Some monsters may even consider migrating. Killing two birds with one stone, actually, not only two. Besides, we've been very stressed as of late, so shouldn't we take a break once in a while? That's why I propose we should hold a festival as well. We can decide on the date of the festival later. We will welcome the visitors during the time when the whole town is celebrating. And since Malim has already requested me to do so, we will have to pull off a huge festival. By restricting the festival to a certain time frame, we can limit the visitors to one specific time period and avoid having them sporadically visit us. We can use our vacation time to simultaneously advertise the town. In other words, taking care of everything in one go. A festival. Amazing, that's a wonderful idea. Let's do it. We will make it a grand festival. Everyone's eyes are lit up after hearing my explanation. It seems that fighting spirits are burning high in everyone's heart. Since we've held feasts every couple of months, we have much experience with festivals and celebrations. And as it turns out, everyone's getting better and better at holding festivals, with each festival grander than the one before. It would be great if for this festival we could have everyone contribute. We are announcing my presence to the world anyway, so we should make it worthwhile. Yes, sir. No one objects. What do you mean by budget? Why should I care about budget at this point? Rigard can figure that one out. Right now, our treasury is loaded, so being extravagant once in a while won't hurt. Thanks to my words of encouragement, we got everything to progress rather quickly. We were able to quickly conclude the meeting, and by the time I got back, even the plans for the invitations to national leaders were already sorted out. Isn't now a bit too early to send out invitations? I suppose it's fine to invite monsters, but is it really okay to invite leaders of human nations too? Though I guess we do have hot springs, as well as hotels for guest reception. There are even goose houses to satisfy the needs of royals and nobles. In fact, even prominent figures such as Duke Elalud and King Gazel are extremely satisfied with the service Haruna and the others provide. There shouldn't be any problem. We could shift the dates of visits of the heads of states away from the main event and change the venues. As long as we keep the security intact, it would be a great opportunity for the leaders of the world to learn about us. Their master, well, that would be me, a proper demon lord. I can very well relate to everyone's sentiments of wanting to celebrate. I was originally a Japanese man who loved festivals as well. And if I'm getting serious this time, I shall show them the true meaning of a festival. Moreover, I'll show the world that I am not a bad demon lord. And with that, the huge Tempest Festival will soon be underway. My report ends with the details of the festival pending future discussion. Next, I listen to everyone's report of their recent activities. I have a rough idea of what they've been up to, but not everyone knows what the other lieutenants are working on. I might even be able to glean some new information from the discussion. Especially Diablo, I simply cannot fathom his train of thought. Should I call him lacking in common sense, or... The things he deemed trivial always turn out to be important news to me. This discrepancy in judgment continues day after day. There are many times that I alone won't be able to make the best call. For this reason, it is important for everyone to share their thoughts with each other during regular meetings such as these. From Rigard's report, merchants who have traded with us once are likely to return for more. Fuse has spread the news about the safety of our town to more people and, as a result, this town has seen more visitors than ever before. There hasn't been too much of a reaction from all the other nations. While they all seem cautious of the fact that I've become a demon lord, they are mostly just observing the diplomatic relations between us and the kingdoms of Blumund and Dworgen. With how things have progressed, the Emperor, Empress, Elmesia Alor Sarayon has decided to reach out and form diplomatic relations with Tempest Federation. She seems to be implying get the roads done fast to us. But it also carries the confirmation that they are willing to provide us their powerful backing as support. Their declaration seems to have been broadcasted with magic to the heads of other nations as well, which apparently has given many of them headaches. I seem to have heard of something similar when I was discussing it with Fuse and King Gazel. Haha, amazing. It seems that everyone has kept their word, and is in turn pressuring the other nations around the world. Rigard delightfully concludes his report. After Rigard, it is Sui's turn to speak. Given that much of the investigation work has been handed to Sui, the content of his report must be quite enlightening. Sui even has had his hand in the preparation of the road construction to Sorcerer's Dynasty Sarayon. He didn't help with the construction, of course. Instead, I told him to do some reconnaissance. I'll determine the specific route of the road later. So I basically had Sui investigate things such as whether or not there are monster tribes nearby that would interfere with the construction. We've conducted similar investigations during the construction of roads between Dworgen and Brumund, which is why it is so important. We can't overlook such things, otherwise, there may be potential conflicts in the future. While most monsters in our sphere of influence so far have been cooperative, some may express opposition when they are forced to move due to the construction of the road. Nowadays, since I've become a demon lord, any monster with just half a brain wouldn't want to stand against me. But that doesn't mean I can just do whatever I want, which I will keep in mind. I do want to prevent violent suppression, but that's low-hanging fruit. My end goal is coexistence between men and monsters, and to achieve racial equality at birth. Hopefully, this time we won't have any issues. I've already asked so much from the monsters within my domain. We gave shelter for people who came to us in order to prevent unnecessary, oh yeah, we have to tell the residents who live in the path of the new road to move. I want to avoid unnecessary conflict, and it will be best for me to have them come negotiate with us nicely. It won't matter even if there are tribes on the planned construction route, I'll just prepare some decent lodgings for them to move into. I hope to make such locations into the likes of traveling waypoints with many hotels to service both humans and monsters alike. There may be some issues along the way, but at the end of the day, life will be more prosperous. Just like last time, and the time before that, I hope this one would go smoothly as well. Such thoughts wandered in my head while I waited for Sui's report. There weren't any hostile monsters spotted on the planned construction route, or the neighboring areas. They all approved of Rimura-sama's plan as soon as I explained it. Oh, that's wonderful. Our goal isn't to drive them away from their homes, so we are very fortunate to have their understanding. Is that so? Great then. Since Geld is available now, I'll have him do the measurements as well as handling some other issues. The investigative work is concluded since we finished the exploration of the construction site. After some security checks to ensure safety, we can send in the technical crew to do the work. Another moment if you may, there is still one more issue. Since the Jura Great Forest is now under Rimuru-sama's control, it will include the Kasha Mountains near the border zone. It is an area with dangerous rapids and steep hills, and, in addition, the hidden village of the Tengu tribes resides at the mountain top. This is a secret gleaned from the local residents that cannot be overlooked. On the southwest side of the capital of Tempest Federation, Rimuru, there is a mountainous region connected to Sith Lake. The region is named the Kasha Mountains, where the orcs have also moved to. It is said that the city of Demon Lord Fry is located on land extending from the southern Kasha Mountains. It is a beautiful mountain range filled with steep peaks overlooking the clouds. But it is an extremely mysterious land that would pose quite the ordeal to anyone wishing to visit. According to the construction plan this time, the roads we are building would extend all the way to inside the territory of Sarion. There seems to be some middling-sized cities in the mountain's vale, and they would likely be the destination of our construction. It seems that we aren't involved with the Kasha Mountains directly, so what is Sui worrying about? What do you mean that we cannot overlook it? The Tengu tribe may seem to be a peaceful bunch, but they are actually innately aggressive fighters. Even Demon Lord Fry has avoided directly confronting them, so it would be best if we inform them too before proceeding. According to Sui's report, the Kasha Mountains are strictly outside of the Jura Great Forest, and hence outside my field of administration. It is an independent land that isn't included in Frey's territory either. Even though I may proceed without informing the Tengus, given my authority as a demon lord, it is best if we are to explain the situation and prevent potential conflicts in the future. Otherwise, they may suspect that the road is some devious act by an ambitious demon lord aiming to expand. Sui seems almost apologetic reporting this to me, however, it is a marked improvement in my book. The fact that he didn't act recklessly on his own reach out to the Tengu is commendable. How cautious indeed Sui is in his acts, his report of the situation now would contribute a lot. Very well, then I shall. Please hold on. If that's the case, I shall visit there. I was just about to propose to talk to the Tengu tribe myself when Benimaru interrupted me. He claims that a demon lord just strolling by without any proper announcements would raise some red flags. I immediately come to that same conclusion thanks to him pointing it out, so I decide to leave that matter in Benimaru's hands. Nii-sama, you've been quite close to Alvis-san lately, are you trying to sneak on a date with her? What? Benimaru's been hitting on Alvis? What's this all about, Benimaru-kun? If what she said is true, this would be quite the shocking development. That's just a misunderstanding, Rimuru-sama. Shuna, please don't spread such rumors. Benimaru calmly denies Shuna's words. He doesn't seem to be lying given his frank attitude. But given his handsome looks, there's no doubt he is popular amongst the ladies. Please be rest assured, Rimuru-sama. It won't matter if Benimaru is gone, Rimuru-sama still has me after all. Huh? What nonsense are you talking about? Hee, have you been seduced by Alvis into trying to leave this country behind? Gone with the wind, have you? I mean, Cheyenne, seriously. What has gone through your brain to have twisted your understanding of the situation like that? Cheyenne begins to say some bizarre things only to have provoked Benimaru's retorts. No way. Although I'm a bit jealous not having a girlfriend and all, I don't think Benimaru would run and leave us behind. Cheyenne's delusions are truly baffling. Oi, Cheyenne, that's just impossible. Right, Cheyenne. Rimuru-sama, you believe me, right? You are my trusted right-hand man, there is no way I will doubt you. I may have said so given how long he has followed me, but I've not once doubted Benimaru or feared his betrayal. But he is probably getting a girlfriend soon like Tamura. We'll see about that then. I get the feeling that this whole conversation is quite silly, so I should just hand the real work to Benimaru. Right. If we continue discussing this, Cheyenne will get the wrong idea and act like an idiot again, so this task will be handled by Benimaru. Yes, sir, understood. Benimaru nods with a tired expression and accepts the mission. Good grief. But honestly, Benimaru is the most suitable candidate to be sent in my place. His position is just under mine, and is high enough to not invite scorn. I didn't expect there to be such a hidden village near our border with Sarayon, so it would be best to inform them from a long-term perspective. Benimaru would probably do a better job at it than me. I think so while concluding the issue. The only report I haven't heard is, Sui, has there been any significant change in the ecology of the neighboring monsters? I ask about the movement of the monsters around the town and the roads. Magical concentration is rather high in this area due to many large individual magical counts. Areas of high magical concentration would result in the spontaneous genesis of monsters, and naturally, the birth rate of harmful monsters would also increase. Even monsters below rank D can be harmful to humans, which is why we have to stay alert and eliminate them. If dangerous monsters above rank B suddenly appear, then all the more reason to eliminate them faster. It is due to such circumstances that security work is necessary for everyday life. The head of the security department rigor needs to deal with that area of things. His subordinates are all veterans, and even if they were replaced by new recruits, it would only take a few weeks for them to be trained and deliver decent results. Police patrol every street to ensure the safety of human caravans. The security has been made watertight, and everything seems fine as of the moment. But they have not explored the entire forest, leaving the possibility of stronger monsters to exist somewhere in there. But Sui did tell me don't worry about it. What does that mean? Does it mean we can coexist with those monsters? As long as those monsters don't harm us and the travelers, they shouldn't pose a problem. There is no need to eliminate them if they possess intelligence and can be negotiated with. With that being said, just like the armored spider, night spider, that Gobta encountered before, there is no guarantee whether such rank a local monster lords would appear or not. This is why I'm very concerned about the security of areas far away from towns and streets. Locations where we have limited control are the breeding grounds for dangerous monsters. But we should have information about such locations since Sui has sent out his clones. Let's hear about the reports then. There is no big trouble. If anything, there were some white-fanned bears roaming in the northwest of the forest. I've already dealt with them. Sui casually adds. There doesn't seem to be an issue. Warning. White-fanned bear is equal to a night spider, with both being rank A. What? Oi, that monster you mentioned, isn't that a high-rank monster that any normal adventurer would have difficulty fighting? His nonchalant attitude makes me panic a little. There is no way for merchants to safely travel when such dangerous monsters are roaming the area. Moreover, it would also put the security force led by Gobta in danger as well. Sui-san, is this true? It would be quite dangerous to send our new recruit out when those types of monsters exist. That shouldn't be an issue. Aren't you spoiling them too much? Hold on a second. While those monsters may not be much for Sui-san, they are no easy foes for us. Naturally, Gobta starts to complain. Yet Sui still looks quite apathetic. Then why don't you just go ask for Hakura's help and have him train you harder? He replies with such scary words, looking all serious. Hakura nods in agreement. Poor Gobda. Although I'm more interested in Gobda's reaction, as he doesn't seem to fear the white fanned bear itself. Gobda has indeed undergone significant magical growth. He is now a rank B veteran. With that being said, he still has a long way to go before reaching rank A. Wisdom King Raphael-san, did you misjudge Gobda's ability? Answer. His power after assimilation with a star wolf would increase. However, the change in power cannot be accurately measured. Oh, I see. His power should increase to around rank A after assimilation with a star wolf. Gobda is the captain of the Goblin Riders after all. So it's no wonder he doesn't take monsters like the white fanned bear seriously. Speaking of which, I've heard rumors of Gobda taking an attack head-on from one of Clayman's generals. His experience training with Hakura has made him stronger. I almost got deceived by his unchanged appearance. Could it be that Gobda is actually very strong? Feeling reassured by Gobda's growth, I decide to move on to the next order of business and mediate the discussion. Calm down, everyone. Gobda has a point too. Although you yourself may be able to handle it without a sweat, don't expect everyone to be like you, Sui. I interject. It would be bad to spread the idea that everyone has to rely on their own power to resolve problems. Average people will find it difficult to keep up when comparing their strength to the more powerful individuals, which in turn would lead to reduced productivity. Forcing them to shoulder all that responsibility may discourage them, and in turn cause negative effects. I raised several specific examples regarding that point to explain it to everyone. My sincerest apologies, I was being inconsiderate. Sui apologizes upon listening to my explanation. Everyone is different. Although Sui's subordinates are strong enough to meet his high expectations, not everyone else has the ability to meet those demands. Hopefully, he will keep that in mind. Not only Sui, it should also be the same case for Benimaru and Hakuru. I hope they will train our companions properly with an open mind. In that regard, both Geld and Gabble are very considerate of their subordinates, so I don't have to worry too much about them. I hope Sui can improve his relationship with his subordinates by learning from those two. But I have something more to say. However, training for Gobda and his men is a good thing as well. They can learn to keep their cool when facing unexpected emergency. I add. Hakura grins at my remark while Gobda hangs his head dejectedly. The extent of growth that everyone can achieve may all be different, so it is always good to have more training. It's just like reading books. You might acquire knowledge that will eventually become useful one day. That's why I can only request Gobda to work harder in the future. Well, anyways, it's time to cut to the chase. The issue surrounding the birth of monsters. My worries weren't unfounded, as the forest really did spawn some dangerous monsters. I shouldn't worry too much about the security force, as they've all prepared healing potions just in case, and with how fast the star wolves can travel, they shouldn't have a problem escaping from such situations. However, that same logic cannot be applied to the visitors to our nation. With the high magical concentration within our forest, it's no wonder that abnormal monsters will be born. We have to draft a plan to deal with this before we end up with any casualties. While strengthening our security net is one way to do it, it won't fix the issue in the long run. Maintaining such a large-scale operation would only increase our burden. The place where monsters gather would naturally have an increased magical concentration. If we can't get rid of the root cause, we will always have to remain on guard. Then, what should we do? As I was worrying about this, an unexpected proposal comes along to save the day. If that's the case, how about we apply an anti-monster barrier to the street? Vesta suggests. Kaijin also stands up to speak, almost as if saying I've just been waiting for that line. My lord, I've already built the device, a prototype of a fully automatic magic motor that can activate the barrier. Kaijin finishes his words with a confident smile. I am aware that Kaijin has been developing things behind my back, but did he just mention a fully automatic magic motor? It is said to be an epoch-making magic machine that can automatically maintain the magic detected within. It is like an advanced version of a magic item that has specific magic imbued within it. However, the capacity and efficiency of this version is completely on a different level. They seem to be quite troubled for not being of much help during the previous incident involving a barrier, Pharmus invasion. That is why Kaijin and Vesta apparently led the initiative in researching these technologies. Aren't you too overpowered? In brain power, to come up with a prototype in such short amount of time, could they be actual geniuses? That was my initial impression, but it turns out that I may have been overthinking things. Gabble also participated in the development during his spare time with the help of Kirabi, who unfortunately is not present at the moment. Even Shuna contributed. It is the grand result backed by all of our magic technologies. It is quite moving. Kaijin seems to have adapted a life of grinding research 24/7 after having handed over his job in blacksmithing to Kirabi. But since he is the head of the manufacturing department in Tempest Federation, there is no way that he would be able to drown himself in research. Kaijin explains the mechanism to me in detail. The automatic magic motor seems to have been set to collect spare magicules floating in the air. And to be honest, this area possesses a high concentration of magicules. He came up with such a contraption knowing that it didn't make sense to leave these spare magicules unused. The barrier of aerial magic silence from that time also cleansed the magicules within it. Let's use these surrounding monsters as an example. The monsters will absorb, breathe in, the surrounding magicules in the atmosphere and produce magic crystals. Kaijin and the rest seem to have taken some inspiration from this, and set about researching the principles behind them. In addition, as previously emphasized, this kingdom constitutes of a very high concentration of magicules. Even though everyone believes that they are suppressing themselves, part of their yuki, demonic aura, is still leaking out into the atmosphere in large quantities. If you consider an average cave where a horde of rank B+ monsters reside, the magicule concentration of that location would be very high indeed. By that logic, the magicule concentration would most definitely be abnormally high in this kingdom. So what should we do to face this challenge? It appears that Kaijin and the others have also been troubled by this problem for some time. Can we apply an anti-monster barrier with this automatic magic motor? Of course. And there are more benefits to it than just that. Vesta adds confidently. He and Kaijin looks at each other and laugh. The two seem to be getting along really well, making their quarrel in the past almost dreamlike. Let's put that aside for now and hear their explanation. But isn't anti-monster barrier used to prevent a monster invasion? What benefits are there besides that? He, don't get scared when you hear it, my lord. This automatic magic motor is equipped with a device to collect magicules. We can lower the magicule concentration in the atmosphere by effectively using this feature. Are you serious? I almost gasped at his answer. Now we have found a solution to our pressing problem. Indeed, Rimuru-sama. But there is one problem with this device. If the concentration of magicules is not high enough, the low efficiency would render the device useless. But, my lord, will this really be a problem in this town? After hearing the end of Vesta and Kaijin's explanation, I nod to them in response. Such concern is completely unnecessary since we are, after all, worrying about magical concentration being too high at the moment. Does the device activate and maintain the barrier automatically as long as it is collecting magicules in the air? Not exactly, though it can be used like that too. The magic would disappear if the magicules that it uses as fuel run out. That's why we made it so that you can replenish it with fuel directly. Here is Kaijin's explanation. There is no need to worry about magicule depletion for the device near the vicinity of Tempest Federation, but the closer it is to the Western nations, the less concentrated magicule is. It will be an issue if the barrier deactivates without notice. That's why their design uses replenishable fuel to run the motor. Its fuel comes from the crystallization of magicule in the atmosphere, the so-called magic crystal. Normally, we wouldn't consider using magic crystal as fuel directly due to its low efficiency. Unlike the magic stone crafted by the Freedom Association with unique technology, magic crystal is very unstable. If directly converted to mana, 90% of its content would dissipate and be wasted. That's why people would prefer magic stone as fuel. However, we had great sage who was able to find the most effective spell from engraving magic. As long as the energy output is greater than energy input of the fuel, it won't matter even if it isn't magic stone. We were able to benefit greatly before by researching such technology, since we didn't have the fund to purchase the expansive magic stones. We can still activate the magic barrier even when the energy loss is pushed to the maximum. Good enough performance can be achieved with a mere 10% of its input power. The lost magicule would not disappear completely either, but dissipate to the atmosphere. And of course, that is also recyclable. From this, we can see that it will be no fantasy to allow machines to function perpetually with high enough concentration of magicule. We have even come up with another way to use it. For instance, we can produce magic crystal in large quantity and deliver them to be processed into magic stone, Freedom Association. In this way, we will have a much more effective use of the material. With that being said, the most important thing here is that the motor will be able to lower the concentration of magicule in the atmosphere. With the magicule concentration lowered, the rate of monster or demon spawns will also decrease. What a truly extraordinary invention. It will become an indispensable contraption that will make up for the nature of our kingdom. We in fact also have discovered the method to extract magic stone from the energy source. But we will still require special devices for such extraction. It is quite challenging to do so with our available devices, but we are still trying to figure out a way to directly use magic crystal. Kaijin makes such confident claim. He has found ways to collect magicule from the atmosphere and crystallize it into magic crystal. And so, the next step of his research became finding out the principle behind the production of magic process. The large quantity of magic stones I purchased from Ingratia Kingdom apparently proved to be useful, yet the conclusion of his research was that there are still difficulties in producing them by ourselves. I suppose that would be the case. I seem to recall hearing about the need of a factory installed with large-scale devices required to process and produce magic stones. In fact, the production of them seemed to be extremely difficult. Even though we may know the method, putting it to practice is not going to be easy. Don't worry, we don't have to be worry ourselves over it. Since we can also just directly utilize magic crystal, we don't have to address the said issue so urgently. On the other hand, the use of magic crystal as a fuel seems surprisingly simple. The stones would use their magicule, mana, to cast the spells of engraving magic to form magic circles. Moreover, this motor device can produce more than just a barrier. Vesta shouts excitedly. How surprisingly, there may be a limit to how much magic it can use, yet it can cast more than just a barrier alone. They have carved the magic spells into a disc made of magisteel. It is said that by swapping these magic discs, it will execute different kinds of magic effects. For example, it is like a record disc. The automatic magic motor is the equivalent of a music player. They consume magic crystal instead of batteries. Although I told them about media such as record disc and such, I didn't expect them to craft such magic items by stretching their creativity. It may develop in the future to become smaller version of the device similar to the size of a CD player, and may even be carried around as an equipment, or perhaps upsize and use it to cast tactical magic. Ah, so many possibilities. As for the current size of the automatic magic motor, it is a cuboidal device with length of 1 meter. It has a thickness of around 50 centimeters, and can take up quite the space. Transportation of the device will not be easy due to its heavy weight. With that being said, if we can replace the loaded magic crystal directly, we will not need to move the device itself. Vesta plans to place them alongside the stone tablets on the streets in order to activate for the anti-monster barriers. By documenting the expiration of the fuel, we can maintain the barrier by recharging them during the patrolling hour of the day. They also mention that there is no need to recharge if the magicule concentration is high enough. So, in reality, we only need to send patrol to examine whether there is any issue with the barrier. They've really thought about everything. It is indeed a convenient magical device with versatility. With one device installed every 10 kilometers, we can ensure the complete safety of the neighboring area. And we will also build an outpost every 20 kilometers, so that patrolling will be less troublesome. Right, about the spell engraving of that barrier. Dord would handle that. The mass production of the motor will be handled by Kurabi-san, we are just waiting for my lord to approve. The people being trained by me have also grown quite a lot, and so we are not giving them lectures as frequently as before. Right now, I am free of duty, so please entrust this mission to me. Vesta must also want to confirm the initiation process of the project besides the researching. His eyes are glowing with expectations. Once the motors are successfully installed, the problem with magicule concentration will also be swiftly resolved. Moreover, the safety of the streets will also increase exponentially. I need to quickly approve this and launch plans to install the motors on the streets. All right, Vesta, let's get to work starting tomorrow. Yes, sir, leave it to me. Vesta agrees with a joyful smile. What a capable guy. As for the installation of the motors, he has decided to give the work to the orc engineers. The heavy weights of these devices to the humans only pose a minor burden to monsters. Their difference in efficiency is night and day. In comparison, adjusting the range of the barriers for them to cover the streets is actually the hardest work, Vesta says so while laughing. However, the harmonious atmosphere is completely ruined in the next instant. Ha ha ha. When that thing is installed, I can release my aura however I wish. As such, it is Veldora who announced these words without shame. No, you can't, you idiot. If you do that, most of the people in this country will die. I rebuke back with my genuine thoughts after hearing his shocking declaration. Even Vesta's smile faded as his face turned pale. That's not a good idea indeed. We may still hold up, but it won't be the same for the citizens in the town. Even if he were to go somewhere else, Veldora-sama's immense power would have the same effect no matter where he goes. Even Benimaru and Shuna's expressions changed after hearing Veldora's words. Which is only natural. Most people were not even able to approach him due to the magical leakage when he was still sealed. Corpses would probably pile up in this nation if Veldora releases his aura without a care. No, but I've been suppressing my aura all this time, it's getting tiring. Then endure a bit more. Veldora begins to find excuses, which I rejected on the spot. By the way, Rimuru, why are you okay, suppressing his aura? Ah? That's easy. Me? I have stored everything in my stomach. A long time ago, after being inspired by Rigurd, I put all my suppressed aura into my stomach. Nowadays I have reached a state of perfection with its usage, and is able to store the aura without any leakage at all. After my evolution to a demon lord, my magical storage greatly increased, while my predator also evolved to gluttonous King Beelzebub. The capacity of my stomach also increased beyond measurement. That is why I don't have such a need for unleashing my aura. But Rimuru-sama, it is extremely difficult for someone like Veldora-sama to completely suppress his aura. Even Benimaru-sama and the others have some of their aura leaking out, said Diablo. Yes. Diablo. You understand, don't you? Tell Rimuru more about just how hard I've been working. Veldora adds unhappily while nodding. And so, Diablo begins to explain things to me. Apparently, demon race is extremely skillful at controlling their aura and magic, that's why they are able to contain their aura perfectly. Assessed by the master of aura suppression Diablo, Veldora's act is of a perfect score. Veldora indeed possesses extraordinary immense amount of magicule, so maintaining a state with his aura suppressed must be exhausting. Is that really the case, Veldora? I've been suppressing my aura ever since you taught me how. I really need to release it somewhere soon. This problem does seem quite severe from the sound of it. Veldora still seems to be able to suppress his aura, but it will probably lead to grave consequences if I don't deal with it. Wherever he finds to release his aura would probably turn its surrounding to a land of death. He may even cause a bunch of dangerous monsters to be spawned. It may even give birth to monsters at the same level as Charybdis. If a real calamity-level threat is spawned, even if harmless, will still be treated as a dangerous creature by other nations. I understand. I'll come up with a way somehow, just endure a little longer. All right then. I can still manage for now, but please hurry. All in all, I'll have Veldora endure for a while. I'll think of an idea during this time. Speaking of this, now that the problem with magical concentration is resolved, I didn't expect to encounter a bigger task like this. Life just won't be smooth sailing for me all the time. I sigh softly as these thoughts go through my mind. With the conclusion of Sui's report, the rest of the executives state their reports as well. There doesn't seem to be any major issue, and just as when I was about to end the meeting. Could I say something, Rimuru-sama? Geld raised his hand and spoke up. He seemed quite troubled from just now, perhaps it has to do with what he wants to say. What is it, Geld? Speak your mind up. Could it be that you encountered any trouble? I didn't think there would be any huge problem considering how he looked last night. Geld's worries probably have to do with the treatment of the captives. But if possible, I wish to offer my help. I wish to inform my tribesmen that Rimuru-sama has become Demon Lord. I want to go patrol the villages that I haven't visited in a while and practice spatial transportation by the way. Is it okay? I've received message that my tribesmen have settled down, some of them may even want to follow Rimuru-sama. Geld opened up after my urges. Now that he brought it up, he's been busy with the road construction, and hasn't had the time to visit all the orc villages. I had also caught news that their diet has been improved among other things, but I laid it off my mind afterward. That is why I approved his proposal. However, Geld, if anyone wished to follow me, bring them for a tour of the town first. Why is that the case? I can understand that your eagerness to recruit them into your team, but I think some training for them before that is necessary. But this is merely an excuse. Geld can contact his tribesmen through telepathy net and quickly mobilize them to form a team. It is an undeniable advantage and one of Geld's outstanding skill. But I can immediately, right now the construction projects at my hand have been arranged full. I need to construct roads to different nations, as well as building resident castle for Demon Lord Malim Sama. I'll need the most efficient labor force to be my manpower. Geld is implying that a lot more labor is required for the future, and so he needs to quickly gather some tribesmen here. Yet I am still not willing to greenlight it. No way. If you want labor, aren't there captives available? Go instruct them and give them a good training. But, Geld, I understand your feeling. I won't deny that it is only natural for us to pursue efficiency. But I hope you can have more long-term foresights. Long-term foresights? That's right. Telepathy net is indeed convenient. It is practical and can reduce lapses. But, what about the captives if you only give preferential treatments to your own kin that you can reach out to? Did you plan to give these captives simple chores that anyone can do? That is. Geld seems to come to some revelation having been advised by me. We indeed require labor force in the future, but while we still have time and energy now, we should also train those captives. Personnel training can only be successfully carried out given sufficient time. Moreover, if Geld only treats his own tribesmen well today, it may lead to unnecessary hierarchy of treatment in the future. I will not permit such a thing to happen when my goal is to build a paradise for different species to coexist. That is why we are at a crucial moment now. Besides, Geld, you are also an outstanding commander. Should you be able to control those mixed bunch of magians today, you will no doubt further develop your leadership skill. Oh. Even though there are a series of projects lining up behind you, don't be nervous about them. Effectively use your past experience and have everyone listen to your command. Also, I take out a piece of paper and hand it over to Geld. This is. I'll let you handle this project. It is only a basic draft of design, but I believe you will handle it well. So, do you wish to accept it? Rimuru-sama. The design graph handed to Geld was the graph of a giant building that I slowly drafted over my spare time. I of course also showed it to Malim and the others. Those skyscraping height made Fry very satisfied, and left Carrion shocked by its magnificence. As for Malim, she was simply delighted by it. Considering this, the satisfaction of our customers will be guaranteed, but although it may seem like an investment to the future, it would be more similar to doing a free service, so I would be quite troubled if they do have a strong opinion about it. After seeing the streets of Ingratia, I designed this building that may be less grand in size, but just as competent in design. My initial goal was building a skyscraper, but I changed the idea believing it was too boring. Instead, I redesigned it to infuse the building with the features of this world. So I hope Geld would help to build it. And of course, there is more to it. I also have an excuse, to find reinforcement for Geld to prevent him from being crushed by the heavy burdens of all these important responsibilities. My eyes turned to Kaijin. Leave it to me, my lord. I'll go assist Geld-san. I'll also bring that mightily guy along as well. Allow us to take on the task of building the city that you have envisioned. It seems that he noticed that I was peeking at him. Kaijin returns my look with a smile. How impressive. He recognized the sight of a slime. But not everyone is as good as Kaijin, so perhaps it will be better for me to turn back to human shape during meetings. Putting that aside, I'm reassured that Kaijin is willing to assist. Are you fine with your work at hand? No problem. Don't worry about it, my research has concluded for a while, moreover my apprentices are getting more and more competent as they train. So it will be fine for me to leave town temporarily. Kaijin takes on the mission with a smile. This is great. A person's worries over trivial matters will quickly be erased once he is given a bigger challenge, or something worth working towards. If this is Geld we are talking about, then there is no way that he will be set back by such matter. You can do it. I hope you can overcome all the challenges, and allow me to help you develop in a more mature you. And of course, you can find me to discuss if you ever encounter any difficulties. Why don't you try to do it with a relaxed and joyful mood? But if I accidentally fail such important task. Geld's body is frozen uptight at his spot, likely due to him being too nervous. This man is very serious, hard-working, and has a strong sense of responsibility. That's why I add on. It's all right. Even if you fail, you can learn from it as well. It is not human life we are discussing here, so even if there are any losses, won't it at most be a city? We'll build another if we might gather enough money again. These words will probably cause the opposite effect on lazy bones, but not so for Geld. Indeed. In the past, I was also. Hold on, Gobda, what were you in the past? I need a more detailed explanation, come to my office later. Is this actually an elaborate trap? Seriously, this Gobda. Don't get ahead of yourself like that. But his words do seem to have relaxed Geld. Thank you, Rimura-sama. Geld was too afraid of failure and was overwhelmed by worries over trivial matters in life. In order not to let down Rimura-sama's expectation, please allow me to carry out this significant task. I'll be relying on you. Great. Geld's worries seem to have gone away as he gives off a delightful smile. That should do it. Cheyenne on the other hand is looking at Geld with jealousy, while muttering so unfair, giving all the important tasks only to Geld. I answer in response, this is called assigning role according to each talent. You have your own job to do, don't you? It must be cooking. Not at all, you idiot. Yeah, well. You have many strengths. Though in your case, cooking is not one of them. I replied out of reflex and found a way to make it through the conversation. If we are being honest here, her talent is probably being my bodyguard and protecting the city. Anyhow, Cheyenne has her own strengths. There is no need to be hasty since everyone have things that they are good at and things that they are not. Right, Cheyenne. You are so incredibly strong that even I may lose to you under some condition. That's why you have to protect Rimura-sama well when I'm absent. With Benimura saying this at last, our discussion of the topic ends. The executive meeting updating situations with reports has finally been concluded. The meeting could just end at this point of time, but I suddenly thought I should ask about Diablo for an update on how his plan is progressing. Well then, allow me to explain. Diablo salutes respectfully to me as he said so and begins his explanation. The movement of every nation, the situations he described regarding the neighboring nations are just as what Rigard and Sui had reported. Diablo seems to have gotten hold of this information, as both of them frequently nod in agreement to Diablo's report. The movements of the nations have to do with the plan to help Yum rise to power. As for the status of Yum, I was informed of it among other things from Diablo's report. Putting aside becoming a king, Yum hasn't even had any noble education. He probably can't even properly engage with any nobles or royalties. Right now, the previous king of Pharmaced Malus has been acting as Yum's mentor under Diablo's instruction. He probably won't attempt anything devious under Diablo's surveillance. So I can leave the teaching to him being reassured. Depending on how things progress, it may be quite interesting to recruit and use him in the future. It will definitely be of help to Yum if that's the case. Diablo mentions about his plan again and explains it altogether to the executives. While listening, I make a mental note that I should meet this man, Edmalus. And the new king on the other hand, of course, is plotting some schemes behind the scene. But it'll be some time before he can make his move, right? To reorganize the army and mobilize once again will likely require several months at the least. Or so I thought, but Diablo answered differently. His reply was completely different from what I imagined. Kufufufu. I wish to resolve the matter as soon as possible, so I'm speeding things along. He says so with a delightful smile. Then we won't be able to prepare. Not to worry. I've already requested Benimurudano to prepare an expeditionary force accordingly. Indeed. I've prepared fully for that part. Both the troop that will be infiltrating the public to operate under the sun, and the troops carrying out covert missions in the dark have been properly arranged. I in fact spent more time selecting candidates, since everyone wanted to participate. Diablo and Benimura put on a smooth duet with how casually both explained the preparations. They've skipped reporting these things to me in the past, almost as if the matter is only as important as telling me the time of their hiking trip. I personally consider this whole thing to be quite significant, you know. However, though not posing a problem, something is indeed troubling me. I haven't bought this up before since it wasn't worthy of a report, but Reheim has yet to return. Erasing his smile, Diablo adds on. Oh yeah. I've been wondering what I forgot, and now I finally recall. The message we sent to Hinata has not been replied. Is he the archbishop that you sent out to respond the summoning of the Western Saints Church? Did he not bring my message? Or could it be that the message did not safely arrive? No, I had Reheim carry the crystal ball, and sent him to the capital of Ingratia Kingdom with my men protecting him. A teleportation gate was set up there for his transportation, so theoretically he should have directly reached the headquarters of Western Saints Church in Holy Empire Rubrios. It will take 2 weeks of carriage ride for someone to travel from Pharmas Kingdom to Ingratia Kingdom by the coast. Transporting from there to Holy Empire Rubrios would take 3 weeks more of time. With that being said, magic does exist in this world. There is a special hallway set in between Ingratia and Rubrios called Teleportation Gate. You can travel between the two nations instantly by passing special dimension through the gate. Only extremely high-ranked officials are aware of this gateway, but it probably won't come as a surprise to Reheim, who was the archbishop of a strong nation. He must then also possess the status to use that gateway. It is said that he went straight for the capital as soon as he had entered Ingratia Kingdom. The greater demon servants summoned by Diablo confirmed that Reheim had arrived at the capital. That city is however deployed with barriers, which would cause commotions if greater demons invade. That's why they reported back to Diablo after Reheim entered the city. After which, he has not left the capital at all? Indeed. I told my servants to continue their surveillance of the capital, and they are supposed to report to me as soon as Reheim exits. Yet he says that his servants still have not reported back. If that's the case, has Reheim remained at the Western Saints' Church? Could it be that someone tried to silence him by murdering him? I couldn't help but comment when the worst-case scenario crosses my mind. But Diablo rejects my theory. No, right now I haven't sensed it. My unique skill tempter would deprive my dominated subjects of their souls when they die. In other words, as long as his soul hasn't been deprived, the person is still alive. That's quite a scary skill, but I'll put that aside for now. There were also several Templar knights guarding him, so he probably thinks the capital there is safe without any hazard. Yet Reheim still hasn't returned. It may be that the inquiry meeting from within the Western Saints' Church has been taking too much time, so it is perhaps not the time to worry. But this is indeed worrying. But it's fine as long as he is still alive. Hopefully, he won't be silenced and cause us to be labeled as the culprit. In other words, right now we have no idea what Western Saints' Church plan to do. Yes. They may interfere with my plan, but under the circumstances right now, it is hard to make a judgment. We can only maximize our guards in order to take precaution against whatever is to come. How problematic if that's really the case. We really can't get a clear read on the situation with this limited information. If we have sufficient information, I can just leave it to be fully handled by Wisdom King Raphael-san. I am most ashamed. The risk is simply too high to infiltrate Rubrios. No, it's all right. No good will come out of forced actions. Seeing Sui's regretful expression, I quickly comfort him. It will take Sui himself to investigate the domain of Western Saints' Church, who are nemesis to us monsters. Moreover, with Hinata as their leader, I have reservations to send Sui out. Such a task can't at all be dealt with by Sauka and the rest. They will definitely be executed if found. That's why I have ordered them to act cautiously and never overplay their cards. But, even if that's the case, will they be hostile to us or not? We implied in the message I sent that I could forget about the things that happened in the past. Although I also provoked them a bit in the message, I hope they can just overlook that part. No, this is not good at all. But since I've sent out the message, there is no use crying over spilled milk. I basically expressed my willingness to engage with them peacefully, so I hope they will understand my intention. Hinata is smart, and I believe she will make the right call. It will be most ideal if they choose to coexist rather than antagonizing us. Now apart from the octagram, the only faction to be alerted is the Western Saints' Church. Our relationship with the Eastern Empire is tense as well, but there is no sign of them taking any action yet. So as long as the Western Saints' Church does not interfere, Diablo's plan should not fail. That's quite a challenging issue. I personally think that we should just resolve things by fighting a war with them once and for all. Rather than leaving a potential threat, Benimuro prefers a clear result through war. But we will be done if we are defeated, so I still hope for a peaceful resolution. Shuna suddenly opens up, looking rather intrigued. We were under attack when Rimura-sama battled against Hinata the Saint. The two incidents must have some connections, and someone probably orchestrated all these behind the scene. Moreover, there is evidence to back this up, since Clayman also implied that there is someone else behind him. Reminded by Shuna's words, I recall the puppet master behind the scene that cannot be overlooked. Is it not that lord? Most likely. Right now, we are aware that someone is plotting against us, so we need to take into consideration his possible actions as well. We cannot get careless. I mumble the answer before Hakura nods in agreement with tension in his expression. This enemy, we absolutely cannot spare him. The crowds express agreement to Shuna's words. Right. If that guy intervenes this time as well, Hinata may move out herself. But something doesn't seem right. I feel like that I've missed something. I suddenly realize what I have been puzzled about. Say, could it be that Hinata came after me, not out of her own volition, but because someone had requested or ordered her to do so? I express my doubts to everyone, asking for opinion. What do you mean? Rimura-sama, based on the timing of when you were attacked, is it not obvious that Hinata and that lord are somehow connected? While everyone is puzzled as well, Shuna's thought aligned with me as she spoke up. With that being said, my feeling of something amiss intensifies. To me, the strangest thing is no other than. I'll be straight with you all then, even though I don't think she is likely taking order from others, what does everyone else think? Assuming she is already acquainted with that lord, do you guys think it is possible for her to be ordered by this person? Oh. That is what puzzles me the most. That woman wasn't even willing to hear my words, how could she accept others' request or moreover, obey orders from others? Your liege makes a good point. Hinata is the commander of the Holy Knight Order, so it's unlikely she will follow anyone else's order. That hot chick only listens to the will of the god Ruminas. It is famously rumored that even the Pope is not able to change her mind. Kaijin's words confirm my thoughts. Hinata is clearly of the highest authority if she can refuse all order than gods. Then the theory that she is sent on order of others is clearly false. I see, so it really is the case. After all, this Hinata would completely ignore other people's words. It would be quite astonishing if she is willing to listen to other people's order. By the reverse of that logic, we won't have a need to stand against the Western Saints Church if I can persuade Hinata. So there is no one who can order Hinata around. Then, was the overlap of time only a coincidence? Benimura mutters while Shuna seems puzzled. Through clever use of words, that may be the reason. Diablo mutters while pondering. That seems like something a demon would say, but he has a point. There is very little chance that such cautious person as Hinata would fall for manipulation, but it is nonetheless a possibility. Just as what Diablo said, Hinata may have been instigated by someone. And of course, it may have been that lord. But that person is not able to simply order Hinata around. Could this be what you mean? That's indeed what I meant. I nod at Diablo. That lord was able to instigate Pharma's kingdom to march on us and manipulate demon Lord Clayman to destroy our kingdom, yet is unable to manipulate Hinata with ease. Benimura seems to be examining my view and begins to ponder with his eyes closed. Then what does Rimura-sama think about whether the Western Saints Church will take action this time or not? About that, I couldn't immediately give an answer being suddenly asked by Diablo like this. But considering calmly from our opponent's perspective, even Hinata would probably wish to avoid direct conflict with us right now. The message I sent to them also made clear that I don't wish to be hostile against them. With my good intention shown, Hinata wouldn't be so stupid as to still stand against Tempest Federation consisting of me, a disaster-ranked creature, and catastrophe-ranked Veldora. By assessing the potential loss alone would show that she stands to gain no benefit from doing so. Even if she triumphs, all she will get is reputation, which obviously would not be enough to make up for the loss that will be sustained by the Western Saints Church. It won't make sense to start such a war without any profit to gain. Hinata may not listen to people's words, but she is not that ignorant as to not see the cost and benefit of things. With that being said, I still have some concerns reserved. The god Ruminus? I feel like I know that name somewhere. A certain someone, Veldora, has been annoyingly muttering nonsense since just now, causing me to lose focus. But he seems to be rather concerned about something. Hinata mentioned that we are obstacles. That is because of the doctrines of Western Saints Church. The Ruminus sect does not tolerate monsters. However, there may be more reason to it. Why would Hinata consider us as obstacles? Sure, the doctrine of Ruminism does not tolerate the existence of monsters, but if that's the only reason, it doesn't seem to be particularly rational one. Meaning that, it doesn't seem like the sort of thing Hinata would do. In which case, there must be some other reason behind it. Although this may contradict the theory just now, what would it make of the person manipulating behind the scene? Assuming that there is indeed someone other than Hinata trying to meddle with our business. What would be this person's goal? Report. It is most likely that several persons are involved in the matter. The series of events are all connected. But it is speculated that these events were not all carried out by the same person. If that's the case, would it mean? Answer. It involves several countries, individuals, dynamics, and other factors. A number of intents have been pinpointed after analysis. The intents may seem to have common goals, there are contradictions among them. Thus, attributing all occurred events to one mastermind is unreasonable. In other words, there is more than one person behind the scene. It does make a lot of sense this way and easier to see. It means that Clayman was but one of the people being manipulated. Oh, I see, it makes a lot more sense thinking in this direction. These may jump at each other's aid when their goals align, but in reality, they are not moving according to each other's order. These masterminds may also only have instigated them. It may be that Hinata has nothing to do with the people behind the scene in the first place. Indeed, things are clearer when considering there to be multiple people involved in the grand scheme of things. Moreover, once situation changes, there may no longer be a need to be hostile against certain party. That is how international affairs work without the involvement of personal emotions. Then, Clayman saw us as an eyesore, and he also tried to manipulate us. That's why he was rejoiced to see that I and Hinata had our fight to the death. Pharma's kingdom thought that me becoming the leader of the Federation is an obstacle. They didn't wish to eliminate Tempest Federation, but to take over the kingdom. That's why they also wanted to see that Hinata would take care of me. So, what was Hinata herself thinking? Of course, she couldn't spare a monster like me on the ground of the doctrines she upheld. Things began to unfold when all three parties' goal aligned. The results were my escape from Hinata's pursuit, defeat of Pharmas in battle, and the demise of Clayman. The time forwards to the present. The situations have changed for every one of the masterminds. With Clayman's death, that lord behind him is likely focusing on replenishing the lost troops due to the conflict. If that's the case, will he still confront me directly? Answer. The likelihood of which is extremely low. If the individual possesses more force than Clayman, he will have intervened already. Even if he had preserved forces, his attack plan has failed miserably. It is thus meaningless for him to intervene again now. So basically, he doesn't have any motive to attack me now. Is that the case? That person has been hidden behind the scene this entire time, so it shouldn't be the time for him yet to come out under the sun to operate. Even if he tried to strike back, he would know that directly confronting us would be simply foolish. Based on this deduction, what would the other factions do? King Edmalis' ambition is all gone after stepping down. The new king seems to be on the go. His faction is probably not short of people who wants to harm us. To him our nation is an obstacle, and so it's likely that they haven't given up on eliminating us with schemes. But these people are being watched by Diablo. It is too late for them to pose a threat now, even if they add in on the list of the masterminds behind the scene. However, I still can't overlook them that easily. There may be people with concealed identity among them. That's why humans are hard to deal with. There hasn't been any news from the Western Saints Church. Rayheim has yet to return, which is probably implication that the church is in a chaotic state internally as well. Maybe Hinata is lost as well? Since antagonizing us requires a clear justification, and there is no necessity to strike us without a motive. But, what if Hinata continues wish to be hostile even without a motive? It would mean that she was forced to actions under some circumstances. Warning. Reminder that there may be several hidden masterminds behind the scene. Indeed, that is the case. If there are indeed several people behind the scene, how things develop will not be able to be controlled by Hinata. The situation now cannot be treated with optimism. I will have to be mentally prepared. We should think in the direction that there are too many interests involved in the matter that Hinata will not be able to determine how the overall circumstance develop. Am I right? As I came up with a conclusion, Diablo seems to arrive at the same view. Very impressive indeed, Diablo. Those are precisely my thoughts too. But it is not worth mentioning since it depended on the help of Wisdom King Raphael-san. By the way, Diablo seems super intelligent. Could he be even smarter than me? Right now, I've activated millions times more of thought acceleration, yet Diablo was able to reach at the same conclusion against that type of processing speed. He has an amazingly intelligent brain even without Wisdom King Raphael. It seems I've been totally defeated it. Considering the involvement of Western Saints Church on the matter, I shall be more vigilant. Diablo says so with his kufa-fufa laughter. It appears that he has put on all his guards from the start, so perhaps my advice was unnecessary. But even if that's the case, I still wish to alert everyone. Perhaps we have been thinking it in the wrong way all this time. What do you mean? Benimura asks in everyone's place. All of the executives focus their eyes on me. Given this is the circumstance, I should inform them all here prudently. As Diablo just said, there may be more than one mastermind behind the scene. I guess that there have been different factions that got involved in the matter to have led things develop the ways they are. And this time, they are acting on their own for their interests are no longer in alignment. My executives soon show expressions of revelation as I explain. Everyone seems to have very outstanding insights having realized the mystery with what I've explained so far. Gopta expresses that he didn't get it because he had been sleeping. I'm reassured that he brought it up, but I'll also punish him hard later as well. Does it mean that these people are also connected to that lord mentioned by Clayman? We are not sure. But it wouldn't be wise to assume anything just yet. With insufficient information, it will be dangerous to act on our own speculations. I shrug in response to Benimura's doubts. Right now, in my slime form, I do so by popping up a tiny wave on my body. But if Hinata isn't acting on anyone's orders, but because she felt compelled, obligated, to do it, things will start to make sense. Kaijin also shows an expression of realization. Kufufufu. Then I should inquire more about the matter. I learned that it was some merchants who gave wind to Edmalis and the rest. Now that I think about it, there are many suspicious points about that. Diablo's words remind me. Wait. You mentioned merchant. What is it, Rimura-sama? Nothing. The reason why Pharmas Kingdom wished to attack our town was due to their belief that there is profit to gain from doing so. Since war is money-consuming, there are people everywhere who wants to find army to fight in their place. It is very likely that these merchants have secretly been involved in pursuit of profits from the war. I see. This is another big blind spot, since our enemy may not necessarily be someone with military power. Historically, it has always been human desire that led to devious intents. Military force can be purchased by money. Considering this, merchants are suspects worthy of our guards as well. I jump off the chair while turning into human form. Glancing around the crowds, I give order to them one by one. Shuna, go investigate the ledger retrieved from Clayman's castle, and single out the records of his transactions with merchants. Understood. Diablo, go and pressure the civil servants in Farmus to speak the truth, and investigate thoroughly the merchants that have traded with them. I understand, my liege. Benimaru, re-examine the members of the team that will be dispatched to assist Yum's army. Make sure they'll be able to handle any sort of unexpected situation that arises. Yes, sir, leave it to me. Rigard, I'll leave the town to your care. Please do sufficient preparations for the grand festival that we will be holding. Most certainly. Geld, don't worry about the issues here, and just focus on your work. If you truly encounter any difficulties, I will help you, so please have faith in me and work hard. Of course. There is not a single person in this nation who will hold doubt against you, Rimura-sama. Hakuru is to assist Benimaru, Gabble will be aiding Rigard, and in light of the many peoples that will be visiting us, Rigor will need to prepare our town's security force accordingly. Understood. Yes, sir. Leave it to me. As for Cheyenne, let's see. Oh yes. You will be my bodyguard, yup. Yes, sir. I finish assigning duties for everyone. I nod in satisfaction while patting Ranga's head. Done and done, now all I need is to let them go and attend to their duties. What about me? Oh Veldora, for you, be careful not to get in anyone's way. Rest assured, since it's me you are talking about here. I am not assured at all. That's why I have a close look at him. Oh yeah, there's also Gobtakuin. You seem awfully tired, come see me in my office. Ah. I wake up sleepyhead Gobda, and says so to him with a smile. And as such, it's business as usual even when I am a demon lord with the meetings. Now that all the issues have been addressed, the meeting with my executives is dismissed.